Welcome to the video series, How to Build Your Food Truck with me, Frank Baltierez. And in today's video on the step-by-step guide on how you can build your own food truck, we're going to be wrapping up the electrical. We're going to do a quick, just a rundown of everything that we've connected, everything that we've ran, being like all the Romex wires, the switches and the outlets right here. We're going to make sure that we connected them properly and then put them in place and make sure that it actually powers on. We're going to be making a 50 amp cord that we can plug into our home or our business, wherever the construction of your trailer is. That way you can verify that everything is connected properly. Again, if you guys have any questions, every county is different. So make sure that first and foremost, you contact your county to make sure that all the work that you're doing is correct and it's gonna be something that they can approve. That's very important. Number two, if you are not 100% sure after watching these videos on how to do it yourself and you've watched it a couple times and you still don't get it, just hire a professional. It might be the best bet. That way it stays safe and you can have a full functioning food trailer for years and years to come. This one's an empty 7x16 trailer that we're converting into a concession trailer or a mobile vending trailer that you can take out and have a full kitchen right here, as I like to call it, a kitchen on wheels. You can do the same thing with the food truck. The construction principles are basically the same, but let's get to it. Let me show you how we ran the electrical, how we connected it, and how we're going to power it up today. So again, Frank Baltierez, How to Build Your Food Truck, the electrical wrap-up. So this right here is our Siemens breaker panel. It's called a main lug breaker panel because it doesn't have a breaker here. If it had a big breaker right here, it'd be called a main breaker. And some counties might require it, some fire departments might require it, so make sure that you ask. These are my 3 home runs that I have running right here, but we're only gonna use 2 breakers. The rule of thumb is on a breaker panel, this is something that you could like use in your house if you had it like as a sub panel. And how you get 240 is you have 2 powers coming in from your power company. That you have one right here and one right here. And when you connect them together on like these metal pieces right here on the conductors, then that's how you get like a double breaker, and that's how you get 240, which runs your big equipment like your washer and dryer, probably your dryer or your air conditioner, or sometimes your stove as well. On here, we only need 120 on this particular food truck. So that's why we only have it connected on one side. I don't have to worry about 240 because I don't use any equipment that's 240. That's the general rule of thumb. And here I put this rubber tape because there's no fitting that can fit there and do this tight angle to go down and feed the generator plug. This one I did the same thing. That's why you see this there. It's this rubber tape to protect the wire from movements that can happen while driving. So what I'm going to do here, instead of double tapping this breaker right here, because this is what's going to feed our lights, our outlets, our water pump and things like that, this one is just going to the food warmer, our double outlet that's right there. That one gets its own breaker by itself, so that one's fine. You can do 2 things. You can strip these wires back down and then connect them with the wire nut and then just run one cable right here. That way it's not something that they call it a double tap. Sometimes certain electricians in certain houses that even like we ran into in different inspections, they have 2 wires running into a breaker. And when they do like an inspection, when you're trying to sell it, they say, hey, we don't want a double tap breaker. So that's what happens. Sometimes you can run 2 wires in here to feed a certain circuit or outlets in your house. So that's an option. You know, it's up to you what you want to do with it. I'm going to actually wire nut these together down here inside the box and then just run one cable into that breaker, and then that's going to flick on to turn on our outlets and switches. So let me do that now. I just wanted to give you a quick walkthrough of the panel and explain to you what we're doing there, because I do get this question is like, hey, you have 3 home runs but 2 breakers. Yes, you are correct, and that's how we're gonna finalize and complete this wiring. These 2 are gonna get connected, and just one wire, whoop, is gonna come right out and connect right there. Before I finish this wiring right here, I just wanted to show you how this looks. This is how we pigtail it. They call this a little pigtail, where you connect 2 wires and then have one coming out of the other side. So with this, these are our 2 home runs. This one's the cans and the switches and the outlets on the right side where the concession window is, and this one's the fridge, which is right there. These are the 2 home runs. If you missed the video where I ran all these home runs, it's a couple videos back. Actually, one day I might actually number them all, the videos, so it can help everyone and guide you better on the DIY series. But for now, if you look back a couple videos, I show you how I ran all these home runs. So this one is going to go right to this breaker right there. And then these two neutrals, they call these the white ones the neutrals, are going to connect it right here to the neutral bar, as well as the grounds. And then we're going to make our plug and then power it up and make sure that it works. So let's get rocking and rolling and get this thing powered up so we can turn the lights on and make sure that it works. Let me show you one of the completed connections that we have here. This one is our food warmer. They call this a quad, but this is going to be our food warmer. This has its own home run dedicated right there. If you can see FW food warmer. And I also ran an extra cable on the previous video. I did mention that I ran it just to be there as a spare. And there you go. It is just a spare. Just make sure that you tape it off. And all I did here was connect the power that comes from the panel and the neutral, as mentioned before. And just to recap, a outlet always has, typically on here has a slots, one's bigger than the other. The smallest one is going to be the hot, and the longest one is going to be the neutral. And also the screws are different colors. This one's more gold and this one is more silver. And then from here, all you do is you pigtail out, you connect here, and then you swing it over to the other side, and you do the same thing with the neutral. So you connect on one side and then just bring it over to the other side, and that's how you connect the outlets on here so they can be powered up. I forgot to mention this. You always want to make sure, if you can and you're able to, put electrical tape around the terminals right here, or the connections, because these screws will be exposed, and when you're pushing the outlet into the box, it can be this box or it can be in your house or wherever, it can and it has happened sometimes where the metal screw right here touches the box, being the hot with the box, and it shorts out where it grounds and it'll spark. And whenever you come and take it out in the future and you don't know that, you can just maybe take it out kind of hard and it'll spark it as well, or arc it. So you want to make sure that you give it a wrap right here, or a courtesy wrap with the tape, with an electrical tape, and it'll help everybody out in the future, including yourself. Okay, so now let's try to figure out this one. It might look like a big cluster of wires, but if you labeled everything correctly, it should be pretty easy to get everything squared away. So this one is a switch that's going to go on the right side, that's going to connect our outside lights and the rope lights. Boom, right there. This one is the outside light, which goes right here, and it goes right here to the outside. So that's going to go with this one. That's the switch legs that are going to go on this side. This one is a power. This one is a power, and this one is a power that goes to the water pump. So all these three right here are power cables. So we're going to tie them all up. They're all black and white and ground. We're going to tie them all up together, and then we're going to throw out a pigtail. We call it a pigtail, which goes from switch to switch, and it's going to feed power there. And then this is a switch leg for the cans, which is on the left side right there. So that's how we're going to figure this one. That's pretty easy to explain. Power, switch leg, switch leg. We put the switches on, we wrap them up, and then we kind of leave it like this, and then we put the cover plate right on top. If you labeled it correctly, it should be pretty straightforward to distinguish. That's why it's so important to label them from the beginning. So hopefully that helps. Now let's get these switches completed. When you're putting the devices in here, being either your outlets or your switches, make sure that you move these cables around. That way they're not hitting each other, because your tightness back here, or your space that you have to do all this, is very limited. So just know that you want to move like the wire nuts towards the middle, and make sure that all your clearance is out. That way you don't smush any cables back here, and just make sure that everything looks good as well. So that's just kind of a pointer I wanted to give you as I'm wrapping these up. So when it comes to the electrical, I think that has been one of my most frequently asked topics. People have questions about that. So hopefully I can cover everything in this video. If you do have any questions, please drop them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. I do answer each and every one myself. Another question that I do get is, can you use a 50 amp plug on here? Can you use a 30 amp generator? You can, you just can't do the opposite, have a 30 amp plug with the 50 amp generator. So that's something that I want to clarify, so you guys can all know that. And to finish this up, you just put your cover plates right on. Make sure that you buy the standard size cover plate so it can fit nicely. So here we are working on the can lights today, just to get some power in here so we can make sure that everything works. That's my goal for today, is just hook up the power here and make sure that the lights work, the outlets work, and all that fun stuff. So on here, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna leave these same lights. I bought a white screw that has a white head, and I'm gonna like snug it up to that stainless steel That way we can use these recessed lights in here. But this is how we connect them. This is the LED driver that comes with the slim LED cans. And we're gonna skin these wires back. So these are the switch legs. One of them goes to right there, and the other one kind of loops behind here and goes right up to this can light, and then that one goes to that can light right there. So what we do is we skin this back on both sides, and then we open up this can driver, and you can see there's a black wire, a white wire, and a green wire. So we're just gonna put them in. They come with their own little connectors. We're just kind of strip this a little bit back, and then we're gonna, I guess you could say, stab them in there, and then these kind of grip themselves on there onto the wire. That's how you wire these up. This one right here is gonna go outside to the vent hood. When we drill that hole and we put the hood up, this is gonna go kind of like through here. We're gonna drill a hole up through the roof when that time comes here pretty soon. But these are my switch leg Romex wires, and then that one goes to the outside, and that one over there has just two, but we haven't put any stainless steel on that side. I did finish this one up yesterday. Finally nice to get some production in here done, and then we're just gonna keep moving along and see what is next, either there or we're gonna put the hood up. But stay tuned, because we're gonna move along with this food trailer so we can get a better visual representation of this. This is how you skin the wires back. You just kind of take a little bit back, and then we'll take the black wire right here. Don't forget there's no power right now because we don't have any generator or anything. Oh man, it just came right off. Let me put it right back in here again. There we go. It's kind of like a two-handed job that you need to do on there. This one is two, but let me see if I can get it in there so you guys can see it. But literally what we do is we take this wire and we kind of stab it right in there. Let me do it real quick, and then let me show you the end result. There it is. It is kind of hard to do with one hand. So here it is. That's just exactly what you do. You skin that little piece back like that black wire, and then you put it right in there, and then this has like little teeth inside, and then that grabs that wire. As you can see, this is pretty snug in there. We're gonna do the same thing with the other black wire, the white wire, and then the green is gonna be the bare one, which is your ground. So that's how you connect the can lights. And then this is your slim LED can light right here. There's no way to kind of mess up this connection, because you can see on there, it has a little notch on the connector. And up here on the one that goes to the actual driver, that one has a notch as well. So you have to line those up, and that's the only way to connect them. And then this kind of screws it all together and connects it real nice and snug. So there's kind of no way you can mess up the connection here unless you really want to. So that's kind of the tutorial on how you do the final connection on the slim LED can. This right here is probably one of our more filled up boxes, so to speak, or the one with more wires in it. And what I did here is I actually use a stack switch. This is a single and a single. This is going to be for our two outside lights, so we can divide them out. This could be for your rope lights, and the red one is for the rope lights, and then this one's going to be for the two lights that are there on the side, and then this one's for the can lights inside, a single switch as well. So how we did this is make sure that you label everything in the back as well. This is the lights, so it has the light and the rope light that come from the right side of the concession window, and that's why we took them straight over to the switch, because we already knew that those were only switch legs. This one right here is the outside light that goes right here, so that is connected right here as well to the outside light. And the rest over here is just powers, and then you have one of them that's labeled cans. So the cans is a switch leg that goes here. And all the other black wires that come from the other Romex are just power cables. So that power goes to this switch, and it also goes to this one because this one needs power. Remember, a switch always has one power and one switch leg on a single switch. I won't confuse you with 3 ways, 4 ways, because you're not using them here and there's no reason to know about that. So these are just single switches, and a single switch always has a power, no neutral, has a power, and it has a switch leg for whatever light you're turning on, because once you flick the switch, it gives it power to that side of the wire, and that's what powers on your lights. And all the neutrals just get bundled up together. Actually, this one I must forgot. So this one's gonna actually go in this wire nut right here. That's what we're doing, a recap. because you always want to make sure that you might miss a wire, as I did there, and you can just make sure you connect it on. So with that, we're going to connect this together, put it in the box, and then we're done with this side. This one right here was one of the more difficult installations that I had, just because of all the wires that are there, and you want to make sure that the devices don't squish the cable in the back or nick a cable and then you short it out. So make sure that you do that if you do the same setup here. As you can see here, it took me a couple tries to get all these wires in there. Again, these are a stack switch and a single switch, and then I used tamper resistant outlets on the outlets there. If they do require GFIs, make sure that either you add GFIs or you can add a GFI breaker. That's a very important thing that you want to know. There is another part to this electrical video that I'm doing now because this box gave me some issues, so I had to do some troubleshooting. So this right here will be the last two outlets that we install here on the food trailer. We have everything done so far. We have the switches right there. The switch outlet that goes to the water pump is down right here. That switch right there controls the water pump that's right there, one of the outlets. And then the other one's always going to have power constantly. This one will always have power all the time whenever the trailer is on. This one is the can light switch. The top right there is the rope lights, and then the other one is the outside lights, the two on either side of the concession trailer. These right here will always have power as well when the food truck or the food trailer is running. This one right here is empty because that is going to be the actual dial for the hood. That's what controls the speed for the exhaust hood. That's going to be right up here, the 7-foot exhaust hood. This one is the food warmer. This one is the fridge. It's on a switched outlet, which runs right there. And then this one right here will always have power as well. And these two right here, as I mentioned, are the last two outlets that we're going to install. This one is a power that runs from the panel. So that one's a power, HR, home run. This one is a power that runs to the opposite side of the window, which is that side over there. So it feeds the power over there. These are my outside lights. This one's actually going to be connected to the outlet right here because that controls the rope lights, the red one. And this is the rope light controller. So this is going to get plugged into the outlet. So it's going to be like a switched outlet almost. And then this one is that outside light that's right there, outside light. And then that one runs to that double switch that I showed you. So these two are my only powers that are here that get connected to the outlets. It's just going to get connected to one outlet, possibly this one on the left side. And then this side over here is going to be that switched outlet, which is going to run my rope lights outside. And that's it. Oh, and there's a panel that's done. And I haven't put the cover on because I want to make sure that the power is correct right now when I flip on the breakers. And then we're going to put the cover on. And all the electrical will be 100% complete, except obviously we need to install that last can right there and then fix these little cans right here so they're nice and flush to the stainless steel, because you guys can see that little gap right there. I ordered some screws that should be in today, later. Just wanted to show you the quick recap of the electrical. That way you guys can do it yourself as well. Any questions, please drop them in the comments. But there we go. Another piece of the puzzle on this DIY series, How to Build Your Food Truck, with me, Frank Baltieres. Thank you again. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all the comments and the feedback. Be on the lookout here in the next couple of days for the next part of this electrical, where I show you how to make your own plug. I know I said in the beginning we're going to do it on this video, but for time purposes, I'm going to put it into the other one because I had to do some troubleshooting because I had one issue that came up. And also I use these brown wire nuts. There's many other colors that you can use. I just like the brown ones because they're a little bit slimmer than like the red ones, and the orange ones are a little bit too small. So that's my preference, is the brown wire nuts. So thanks again for subscribing. Thank you again for watching the channel. Frank